Hi, and welcome to your first art lesson of the semester. Today we're going to be drawing cubes. A little bit of this might be review for some, but keep watching because you might gather new information. Now, the key to drawing a good cube is to make sure that you are using parallel lines. Remember that parallel lines are two lines that go in the same direction and never meet. So when drawing a cube, the first thing that I like to do is I will start out with 3 lines. These 3 lines are going to be the vertical lines of the cube. So I'm going to start out with 1 line, like so. Remember, when drawing, keep your lines light so that they will be easy to erase if you make a mistake. I've started with this first line. Now I'm going to draw a second line that is parallel to that line. You'll notice that I've tried to make this line about the same length as that line. It should be exactly the same. But I've also taken this line and drawn it up a little bit from this one. Now what you want to do is you want to draw a copy of this line on the other side of this one. So we're going to go ahead and draw this on this side. It should be the same distance from your middle line as this one. Now that we've done that, we're going to connect all of our points, starting from this point to this one, then from this to this. Now we're going to come on this side and we're going to go from here to here, and then down here to here. Now we have 2 walls of our cube. The final step in doing this is a little tricky. What I like to do is I like to look right here and sort of draw an imaginary point right there. Now what this point is going to do is it's going to show me where I draw from here up to that line. And then I'm going to add the final line, which will be on this side of the cube. And now we are complete. Now remember how I said that parallel lines were really important when drawing your cube? We are going to check to see if our lines are parallel by using 3 different colored markers. In this case, I'm using highlighters. You can use whatever colors or whatever pens you happen to have. Just make sure that you have 3 different colors. I'm going to start off with blue, and I'm going to begin by going over, and I am going to begin by tracing my 3 vertical lines with my highlighter, like so. Now I'm going to take my second color, and I am going to trace over this bottom line right here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go up and follow this second line. Now you'll notice those 2 lines end up being parallel to each other. So what we have to do is we have to find the third line. It's going to be this one right here. So go ahead and trace that line. Now we have 3 parallel lines there and 3 parallel lines here. Finally, we're going to use our third color and go over the last 3 lines. Now we can really clearly see our 3 individual parallel lines. This is very useful because looking at the individual colors, we can quickly tell whether they are parallel or not. For instance, let's take this cube that I've just drawn. If we want to check to see if our lines are parallel, we apply our 3 colors like so. Pretty quickly, you can see that our blue lines are looking good, and so are our pink lines. Now our yellow lines, these 2 are parallel, but these 2 lines, you can see that they are coming together like so. An easy way to solve this is to look at this point right here and pull it up like so. If we pull that line up a little bit and draw it like that, and then trace with our yellow line, now you can see that it is parallel to the other ones. Now that we've drawn this first cube, we're going to try a little experiment. We're going to draw this cube from a different perspective. Imagine taking this cube and turning it slightly. Let's say we turn it slightly to the right. What is going to happen to this line right here? If you imagine your cube is right here, this line is no longer going to be in the center. So we draw that middle line, but then we take this line and we end up drawing it closer to that middle line. Then we can go ahead and connect those. Now that we have this first plane, if this line is closer to this, that means that it's going to have a larger gap to your second line right here. So we draw our second line further away from that initial one. Then we can go ahead and connect those. And now we have our two planes. Now we're going to do the same process that we did with this. Now the only problem is that if we draw this point directly on top of this one, we're not going to get the cube shape that we're looking for. Now imagine, if you're turning this cube this direction, this point is going to move over here, but this point is going to start moving this direction. Even though this one is moving right, this one moves to the left. So imagine that point was in the middle. Now it's going to be over here. So we draw our point, and then we go ahead and connect our lines. Once you've drawn this cube, I want you to go through and highlight all of your lines, just like we did with this cube. Now we can see that this cube has turned a little bit in that direction. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do exactly what we did here, but we're going to turn it in the opposite direction. So we're basically drawing a mirror of this on the opposite side of our cube. I'm drawing this very quickly, but I want you guys to make sure that you take your time while you're doing this project. Once you've drawn your cube, go ahead and trace over all your lines with your three colors again. Now that that's complete, we're going to draw two more cubes. We're going to imagine we take this cube and we turn it a little bit upwards. So imagine that we are moving our eye over the cube a little bit. So we're moving to more of a bird's eye view. What's going to happen if we do that is that these blue lines are going to become a little bit shorter than they currently are. So we want to draw them the same distance from these, but we want to draw them a little bit shorter. Now, this up here, instead of being so much of a diamond, since we're looking more from above, it's going to start looking much more like a square. So we want to go ahead and draw that shape looking much more square than it previously was. Now you'll notice that once I've drawn this one, these lines aren't touching it, and that's perfectly fine. Go back and connect those lines so that you have that shape coming together. The final step is that you want to draw the lines connecting the bottom of your cube. Once you've done that, use your colors and trace. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to imagine that instead of having a bird's eye view, we're going to move more downwards. So this top diamond shaped is actually going to get flattened now. So again, we start with our three lines, and then we're going to connect them. And now you'll notice that this top is very, very thin. And then the same, you connect down here and down here. And then use your colors. And that is the guided portion of this tutorial. The last thing I want you guys to do is I want you to come up with 2 perspectives that we haven't drawn here. Think about moving your cube up so you're actually looking from underneath it. You could also do an extreme version of one of these. You could imagine combining this perspective and this perspective so that this line is more off center, but you're also seeing more of the top of your cube, and the list goes on. Remember, art is slow, and above all, art is fun. Have fun with this project, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with.